Hello everyone, today we are playing Fellowship 2nd Edition, The Great Curse for the Gauntlet. This game is covered by the Gauntlet inclusivity policy. Uh, the X card and script change will be in use, as well as we have lines on sexual violence and violence against children, as well as veils on torture. We will be introducing our fellowship, and we're going to see in which condition they are on their first encounter with our overlord. So we'll start by the order on the character keeper, and each time each of us will introduce themselves. They will introduce their hero and their pronouns, and then they will say why their hero is the champion of their people and why they represent them in the fellowship. So let's start with Leandro.
Hi, my name is Leandro. I use he, him pronouns, and in this series of Fellowship, I'm playing Aradia Whisper Scar, who uses any pronouns, and they are they are orcs. They're an orc, basically. They're from the orcs. They've got burning eyes, sculpted body, unusual clothes, and warped skin. And the reason why it's sculpted and warped, I guess, is because in classical fantasy, orcs are kind of made, through industry and whatnot. And this is just gonna make it literal. Like orcs, the Aradia specifically is kind of made out of bits of mostly marble and iron. That's kind of their deal. The reason why they're the champion is there's actually a in the gear. Choice I picked was scary as hell. Aradia is someone who doesn't boast much of their prowess, but when they speak with gravity, and they are, I guess, atypical in the sense that they speak softly but deliberately, and part of why orcs I pick them as champions because they are forceful in their personality, but they're not like typical of an orc, I guess. Um, so so yeah, that's kind of the long and short of radio for now. We'll touch on more of that as we play, I guess, and questions and whatnot.
Yeah. Next, Max, why introduce yourself and your halfling?
Sure. So I am Hamfast Proudneck. He says he's a chief, but nobody's quite sure. Um, he has short grey hair, twinkling eyes. He's very, very thin and has bony knees. And he tends to wear very short shorts, somewhat shorter than you'd like, and some very old leather flip-flops. The reason that he is representing the halflings on this journey is the halflings had a sort of a clan moot and everybody got together and argued. And because he is very good at lying and convincing people, he managed to get them to sort of vote him as the halfling representative, which was probably a bad decision on their part, but he is now representing the halflings.
Okay, Mikkel, why don't you introduce yourselves to the Harbinger?
Okay, I'm Michael, he, him, and I'm playing Pellis the Blightbringer. Pellis, with the Harbinger, actually, I think, is not actually the champion of his people. He is the one who has fled from his people, who are the people of the Overlord. He's a renegade, an outcast, essentially come out to try to do something about the person that everyone else seems to think is just absolutely peachy fine and great.
And lastly, we have Einar with someone that maybe shall not be here. So why don't you introduce yourself and your squire?
Hello, I'm Einar, he, him. I'll be playing Sebaster, who's a sort of an all-around servant, part of the lost people, orphans, and he's just really good at being where people need him to be when they need to talk. So he's a good listener, and that's how he has gotten a few notable friends. He's not so notable himself, and he doesn't really represent his people. He just happens to be a friend, befriend a lot of heroes.
Okay, so you already told something about your people, Radia. Basically, they seem to be people of stone and metal. So why don't you tell us 3 facts about the orcs?
Yeah, orcs are not born; they are made, and for a long time they were made by others who wanted weapons of war. But they've since with then their history is basically a long process of trying to break free from that to the point where they can say that they make themselves rather than anyone making them. Let's see. That's kind of their history. They let's see. They're kind of like, I guess, personalities abound. They can. The secret of making orcs are they try to keep to themselves, but it's a very tempting secret uh, because well, not the secret of making them, but the secret of giving them sentience, I guess. That's another hard fought secret that orcs want to keep to themselves, because your overlords can make their tin pot puppets and warriors and whatnot, but orcs figured out how to give themselves life and give life to others, and that's a secret that they wouldn't want to share. In fact, they probably figured, why would anyone want that? That would just cause trouble, especially to any other overlords. And I guess because knowing that they're made, that's why orcs are so like raucous, and that's really in the personality spectrum they kind of move towards not so much warmongering, but trying to live life to the fullest. That's why they're kind of like, they see progress as kind of like not the end goal, but like just what they keep doing. They're not content with leaving things as they are, as mentioned in the playbook. So they tend to kind of wear their emotions in their sleeve. They really like making sure that people know that they're alive, I guess. And Aradia is probably like the weird notable exception in that they keep mostly to themselves. I think I probably mentioned the what are you version I picked in the orc is Daughters of Chaos. It's right there. They're born free, determined to follow their hearts and choose their own destinies, because they've had a long history of not having had any destinies, of being just cannon fodder. Obviously they can't. They haven't fully escaped that destiny. They're still very good at making war. But who knows? Maybe when the world's a bit more peaceful, they figure out how else to live. Sorry, that wasn't really 3 facts. It's more of a ramble. I'm terribly sorry about that.
It was pretty much 3 topics. I noted down more succinctly on the notes for the next sessions. Okay, now we know that our works have earned their liberty, and they've seized control of the Promethean fire that gives them sentience. But how about our halflings? So what can Hamfast tell us about his people?
He'll probably tell you lots of lies. So halflings used to have their own sort of nation, but a long time ago they were pushed out by the big folk, and they're now sort of a group of clans, mostly sort of based around family. So Hamfast has a huge family, and you'll probably know somebody in every town we go through. But because of this, they kind of don't have their own place anymore. So they sort of tend to have to resort to exaggeration, lying, trickery, etc., to sort of make their way in the world. That'll be fact one. Fact two. There is a sort of an underground revolutionary network, which some of the clans are sort of participating in the attempt to retake their sort of home country. And this is like the only thing that all the clans agree on. So they'll argue about absolutely everything apart from this one thing, where they'll work together. Fact three. I think all halflings are born completely bald, and then they grow hair as they get older, and they'll generally never cut it. So, sort of the older they get, the longer their hair is. There you go.
Okay, so next we have Bellas. What can you tell me about your people, Arbinger, and the people of the Overlord?
I like to think that they're a very authoritarian society who believe themselves to be superior to other groups. One of the things I chose for Palace is he has a small, like 2.5 foot gargoyle that kind of follows him around, which actually would like to be like a standard thing. That when you become an adult in that society, you bond yourself with a small gargoyle of some sort. And for a third thing, they make surprisingly beautiful art and music. Even coming through this sort of authoritarian, they keep a lot of that out of it, and it's one of the things that often will bring others maybe. It's been a good foothold into other societies.
Okay, and lastly, we have Sebastian Pip or Squire. So, what is that? What are the three things that Sebastian loves the most about their people?
Well, for one, they're all orphans. So they none of them know where they came from. And for the other, all of them are sort of in the employ of kind of a faceless magical orphanage that sort of magically provides them as servants in all sorts of places of need. Wherever there's a need of someone to mop the floor or someone to like return library books, or there's an orphan appears, and that becomes their life. So and most and fact number three, most orphans are quite solitary and quiet. So Sebastian is kind of well, he's not very talkative, but he is drawn to people in a way that most orphans are not.
Okay, and lastly, we have me. And I'm Ludo, I go by any pronouns, and I will be playing our Overlord, Sikandar-i-Megas, the Accursed, the Two-Horned One, the World Conqueror. She has been going around liberating nation after nation, defeating all kings and tyrants, and bringing to everyone the light of the Arbigers and all the culture and progress of them. And everyone is cheering her on. Only you and the ragtag of rebel powers have allied to try to defeat her. So, what has happened ever since the fellowship formed? What was the people that the Overlord hit first and hardest?
I feel like it could be the halflings just because they are so difficult to control. There's no sort of central like government or anything that you can overpower. They're sort of very dissipated amongst different nations. So it might make sense that they would be sort of cracked down upon by the overlord, kind of seen as like something to exterminate before so you can like fully kind of control everything.
So you would say that the Overlord sees the mobility of the halflings as a threat and has been pushing the halflings out of the conquered territories?
Yeah, I can kind of imagine that it's like sort of illegal almost to serve halflings. Like they're kind of being rounded up and taken who knows where. Um, yeah, I would imagine the fact they're very sort of independent and yeah, hard to control might make them dangerous.
Y'all are little and underfoot. It's a pain in the butt.
And how have the halflings taken to these duties?
I think they're kind of used to it just because, yeah, they've kind of been moving around for so long. They haven't had their own sort of home country for so long. I imagine it's maybe made the sort of the revolution even more sort of popular. More and more young halflings are sort of entering into the revolution and sort of trying to work against the overlord sort of in the underground. So I think that they're sort of fighting back in a kind of very quiet and tricky halfling way. So more sabotage than outright fighting.
And that is my next question, because you mentioned that the halfling nation was lost a long time ago. So, what was once the halfling nation? Is it beyond the borders of the Overlord Empire? It's one of the conquered territories, or it's so long ago that it's some mythical place, and to most people, it's more an idea than a real location.
Yeah, I think it's so long ago that it's become like this mythical place, and maybe there's disagreement where it actually is. And in the stories, it's all you know, has gold everywhere, and it's extraordinarily rich, and there's beautiful sea and mountains, and you know, nothing bad ever happens. It's kind of become more of an idea than an actual place they would ever go back to. So I think they'd probably be happy to settle anywhere that they could kind of make their own at this point. So it's been maybe hundreds and hundreds of years.
Okay. Next question. Whose people has the Overlord mostly ignored?
So I think it's safe to say that the Overlord mostly ignores the orphans, or they probably rely on the services they give, but they usually don't make much of themselves. So I think that's a safe bet.
What service the orphans, after they become adults, tend to provide to people outside of the organization? Because you mentioned that they are solitary, so I think most of them are probably specialized and basically do a single task and then maybe take one of the older children to eventually replace them. But if you are approaching one of the orphan settlements, what did you came there for? What did you seek?
So if someone were to approach an orphan settlement, what service they would seek from it? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, essentially, why would someone go to an orphan settlement, especially when they are so isolated and secluded to themselves?
So I think usually people would not go to the orphanage settlements simply because the sort of magical structure that provides for and organizes the orphans, it just senses need and sends out servants wherever it's needed. So it would be, if you have some sort of labor, some sort of task that would not fall under like ordinary the sort of ordinary list of services provided, but you would still want the sort of discrete labor and discrete and cheap labor that the orphans or the servants, I guess we'll call them servants when they come of age. When the servants that the servants could provide for you, but that they would not automatically provide. So perhaps if the overlord is building something shady, some type of war machine or something, that might one might suspect that the servants would be a good source of labor for that.
And that's a good opportunity to jump on the next question. What impossible thing has the Overlord already done?
I wonder if it might be like a good thing. So if we're kind of saying that most people are welcoming the Overlord, maybe they did some sort of miracle, which most people kind of saw as meaning they were good and were a good thing for the world, apart from us who obviously saw through it.
What if the Overlord's a healer? Able to do like mass heal of a plague or disease?
They kind of healed the entire city from some sort of deadly plague, maybe.
Maybe they did the impossible. They got rid of scarcity within the Empire. No disease, no famine, no want.
That's a hard one to talk people out of. Like, no, really, they're bad. It's like, but look at our society. No wants or disease. That sounds awesome.
Very sure we're on the right side here.
And I think that would be an interesting crossover with the orphans, because that seems a lot like the orphans entire purpose is to do that, but the orphans know that that needs a lot of hard work, and there are no workarounds. There has to be a price that someone is paying for this society.
Sounds a bit like that Ursula Le Guin novel or novella, where the price of well, the happiness of the community is or utopia is the suffering of some or torture of one person or something. So maybe it's not that transparent though. Maybe it's maybe the servants go to work in some sort of incomprehensible machine, or maybe they're like blindfolded or something, and it's not clear what the thing they are doing is, and it's nefarious in some way. And,
Okay, so now each of you has to create a bond with the Overlord. So we're gonna go around the character keeper, starting with gonna start with Aradia of the Orcs, and then you pick up a bond with the Overlord. Let's see where they are written. I know that they are written on the playbook of the Overlord, but also on
It's like page 39 of the playbook PDF.
let's see.
Yeah, in the Overload one, it's in the second last page.
Yeah. So just open the Overlord's playbook, and it's the 7th page.
Oh, these are all
Demonstrations. So, what did the Overlord do to Aradia?
Ooh. Let's see. Maybe you've fought Aradia before and left a wound upon them, which is weird because Aradia's people are made of stone and iron. So how you left a wound that burns in their presence is creepy.
What one was it?
I think it's a fairly obvious crack down the side of her face, and it's, I wouldn't say. For some reason, I near describe it as like it weeps like light or something. Like sometimes it's just a crack, but yeah, when it burns, it weeps light in the presence of the Overlord and their works. It's the bullshit they do.
Okay. So how about Hamfast? What did they experience with the Overlord?
I think I'll have to be, I have caused great harm to Hamfast's people. So it'll be the sort of, the discrimination against the halflings in all of the Overlord's lands. I imagine sort of halfling children disappearing and various weird things happening to the halflings, which Hamfast believes to be the Overlord's work, as well as the sort of slightly more obvious. I think the Overlord's probably kind of trying to keep it a little bit hidden, so it's not literally saying, we have to kill all the halflings. It'll be kind of very subtle and underhanded.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that. So, Palace, how is your connection with the Overlord? And I think maybe it's more intimate than the others.
Yeah, I like the idea that I was once a friend of the Overlord and actually close enough to see what about them actually is evil.
Makes sense. So, Palace was once my friend. And lastly, we have Sebastian. So, what is your relationship with the Overlord?
So I think two of the bonds here are already sort of true in the fiction. So, because I think Sebastian's people do serve the Overlord, and we established that already. And I also picked as a gear that I know a weakness of the Overlord, but it doesn't need to be. Maybe I know the only, or I'm the only one who knows the weakness. Well, I think at least that my people serve the Overlord now. And,
I'm okay with that. Just want to confirm with you because the way you mentioned it before, I was picturing a bit more neutral. They offer their service to whatever claims. So you don't need to make that as locked in stone. But if you want, sure, go for it.
yeah. So I think it's would be. Oh, wait a minute. Did maybe I can do the friendship one. I think that would be might be fun. So the I once did for the Overlord what I do for the heroes now, which is listen to their pain and troubles and be their silent and trusty companion. But yeah, that those days are over, I guess.
Which one was that?
So the third one from the bottom was I was once the Overlord's friend.
Oh yeah. So you're picking the same one as Palace did.
Oh, was that the same one? I thought that was. Okay, sorry. No, I'll do the serve. People serve me now. One then.
Okay, now on the reverse order, you are going to ask another player of your choice something, some rumor, something that you heard, or something that you were taught, or something that you were led to believe, resisting with them, some rumor or superstition that your people holds true about their people, and then the other player can can tell you if that is true or not. So let's start with Sebastian. So pick a player and ask them something that the orphans believe is true about them.
So something they believe is true about my people, or something my people believe is true.
Yes, you ask another player.
Yeah.
Something that your people, the orphans, believe about their people. And then they can say, no, this is true, no, this is wrong.
Yeah. So the Leandro, the orcs. So do I suggest the fact or the belief or the?
Yeah, you present the rumor or superstition, and they confirm it or deny it.
Yeah. So I my the orphans believe that the orcs are no longer multiplying, or they're no longer they're sort of they've stopped making new orcs. Is that true or is that false?
Shrug. Sorry, I just saw like I was looking through the rumor stuff. I thought it said they cannot tell you whether or not it is true in the basic stuff. I don't know if Aradia would say it's true or not. You ask them, they would just shrug. And it looks weird to see a statue shrug.
Huh. Okay. I forgot that I actually also get to ask a rumor. So, okay, so we're gonna say that we're gonna write it down as the orphans believe that, but nobody confirms or denies. So at least there is enough doubt that it might seem for people that don't interact with the orcs like that. So that's the shrug. The maybe. Okay, next on the order. Palace. What does the people of the arbiters believe about someone?
How about I'm trying to remember what Einar said about the magical. I think are there are some great and powerful prophecies, like prophecy magic that can come out of the orphans.
Oh, Sebastian, is that true?
Well, Sebastian might not know.
Or he might know when you'll actually find out. On Tuesday next week.
Okay. What does the people of Hamfast believe about someone else's?
I think the rumor amongst the halfling clans is sort of the information we got that let us know that the Overlord was evil came from one of the orphans who sort of escaped from some horrifying secret thing of the Overlord, and sort of brought out some sort of proof. But nobody's quite sure who it was. Yeah.
Is that true?
Another shrug.
We are very secretive about the affairs of our peoples.
Well, we're not supposed to say whether it's true or not, are we? Or
Yeah, that's true, but it's still written. Okay. Lastly, we have the orcs. So what does what does the orc believe about one of the peoples?
I think the rumor is, and this came from the older orcs who've been around for quite a while. And just to add to the rumor about the orcs, probably people notice that there are more of these older orcs, and they don't see many new orcs lately. But older orcs believe that the halflings didn't lose their nation; they gave it away. Gave it away for some sort of power, and it blew up in their faces, and that's why they're like this now.
What does Anfas think about that?
Sounds like lies and rumors to me. But I won't confirm or deny it. Out of curiosity, do orcs age at all? Do they sort of stay the same forever?
You can probably tell how old an orc is by how much bullshit is tacked onto them, like how much they've retrofitted themselves. So newer orcs look they look like how machines would look if they're new, and older orcs, they go to wear and tear. Some orcs have replaced pretty much every part of their body with other stuff. It's all higgledy-piggledy.
And lastly, it's me. And I think that Sikandar-i-Megas believes that this is all but many worlds, and she believes that the reason why the Elflings don't have a homeland is because they came here from another world. That if she pushes them long enough, they will grow desperate enough to try to make their way back. So what would be Anfa's reaction to something as outrageous as that?
I think that he would think that if they knew a way to get back to Subworld, they'd probably go, but he may not be. He may not know everything the other clan leaders know, I guess.
Okay, now it's time to create bonds with another players. Okay, so let's start again with Leandro and tell everyone at the table your bounds, then people might throw back at you ideas of which ones they want to have with Aradia.
Okay. I do want to be in a slightly antagonistic relationship with someone, so I'm throwing out blank, and I used to fight all the time, but we can't remember why. anyone want that?
Could be, since I used to be friends with the Overlord, and you were wounded by them.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a natural distrust between myself and people of the overlords, because you have a history of being overlorded. That's not a verb, but yeah, I'm down for that. Should I keep going, or do you want to go across the character?
No, just let's resolve all the bounds of a single player, then jump.
Okay, cool.
So you have three.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry, that was the most I thought of right now. I will use my. No, I don't think they're the type to be looking after people. You know what? I'll use my strength to keep blank stay safe from an antagonistic to a more protective one. Anyone interested in that?
I'd take that. So, like that would be appropriate. I'm small. You're big.
That's it. That's it. That's all we need. One's big, one's small.
And I'm your friend.
Yeah. Aradi is the type of friend who won't say that out loud, but will cherish every moment that bond is made. Nobody knows the real me like Blank does. And I have 4 bonds, actually. Just to say that. So there's 2 more.
That could be me, I guess. And fast, maybe we've kind of known each other for quite a long time.
Yeah, and like, look, that rumor, that's what the orcs believe. I don't know if that's what Aradi believes, but again, there's probably a bit of kinship, because I think the orcs don't have a nation as well. They also kind of go out in clans. Yeah, so I think you could see that Aradia is not like most orcs, because they're quiet and keep themselves.
I think Hamfast is very unquiet, so they get along quite well. Hamfast can talk a lot and we can listen.
And the last one is. Real me. Oh, this is tricky. I would go for any of these, but let's see. Used to fight all the time. I can't remember why. Okay, I've destroyed something that Blank loved, and I seek their forgiveness. If no one's interested in that, I will go with just the one where someone stinks. I can smell them. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Can orcs even smell in this world?
If you're alright with having another with me, I'd would be fun if you had destroyed some sort of the the only sort of memento I have had from my family, which is just like a small tin sculpture or something, and yeah, I let you play with it and you crushed it in your big metal hands.
Maybe you let me play with it just when, I don't know, some sort of attack happened,
Mhm.
and just reflexively had to.
Yeah.
I probably turned it to some sort of weapon because that's one of my core moves. Just very reflexive. I didn't realize, because that's the thing. What the core moves is that orcs can just make weapons out of most things. I don't think they realize, or already realized, that was precious to you, and so that informs the seeking forgiveness and the use strength to keep them safe. Because, like, I mean, if this small boy has to look after, like, puts import on tin, I mean, it's just tin. Like, come on. Yeah. Those are my bonds.
Okay, next we have Hamfast. So, what bonds does Hamfast has with the Fellowship?
My headphones run out of battery, so if the sound is weird now, that's why. Can you all hear me okay still? Oh, yep. Cool. 没事，就冲着。I like the I once told a lie so good, blank still thinks it's true. Anyone want that one?
Say it again. Sorry, because I missed it.
Sorry. I once told a lie so good that blank still thinks it's true.
I'll take that one.
Cool. What was the lie, I wonder? Maybe something sort of around my prowess and sort of how important I am in the halfling nation, which was a bit of an overstatement, maybe.
Okay, so what else?
I feel like nobody really enjoys the finer things in life. I think I will never lie to Aradia, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Why are they the one you wouldn't like to?
I think we have sort of, because we have this past, like we've kind of known each other for a long time. Yeah, there's maybe some sort of deeper reason, but for whatever reason, Hamfast will never lie to Aradia.
Nice.
Which is unusual for Hamfast. Sebasta, is it okay if I have mesmerized you with my stories?
That sounds good.
Okay, next one.
Last one. I guess, yeah, Palace, tell me if this is true or not. Palace really enjoys the finer things in life.
You can only have a single bond with me because of a hard.
Right. Maybe Sebasta. Sebasta respects me and I respect them too. Sort of grudging respect, which he maybe doesn't always express, but secretly respects you for your sort of ability with people and sort of friendliness and etc.
Okay, I think Sebastian's respect of you is more open.
Only based on lies and stuff.
Okay, so Bellas, what are your 2 bounds?
I love the idea that what would it be? That Sebastian is the only one I have ever seen change a future I foresaw.
Cool. So do I know about this, or?
I think not. I think that's one of those things that I'm probably friendlier towards you because of it, but just there's something about you, and I don't know if it's about all the orphans or if it's just about you that kind of breaks that some of the future stuff. And also, I like the idea, since I fight with Aradia. The fact with you, if I happen to know you'll be of great importance in the events to come, that gives me a reason to sometimes want to be like, tabled for now. But
Yeah, and Aradia would see like, oh, you're just being another pushy not wannabe conqueror, but like, no, you're just part of your people are part of causing this mess.
God, I would love to just, I can't. I just, oh. Okay. Yeah, I think those will be my 2.
And lastly, Sebastian, what are your 4 bounds?
So I think I'm really afraid of losing Aradia. Partly because I think orcs are running out of the world is running out of orcs, but also because they're my friend. If that's okay.
Yeah. Great. This is not going to get sad at any point sometime in the next month. Nope.
And I think I really tried to live up to Palace. Is that your name? Palace's expectations. Partly maybe because I sort of sense that Palace treats me a little bit with sort of more respect or dignity than I think I maybe deserve, or maybe I think is likely or something.
Cool.
And does anyone want to have to be the person I trust no matter what?
Take that if you want to give it to him.
Yeah, sounds good. And perhaps the last one would be so either Hamfest or Ariadna. I think either of you likes me romantically, but it's hard to believe, and it doesn't have to be true. It's just my impression. So, does anyone feel like taking that one?
Yeah, I think I'll take that one. You think that's it is an impression. Otherwise, like, okay, why is this orc being terribly nice when most orcs kind of aren't, or at least they're not. Yeah, why else would Aradia care so much or seem to care so much?
Yeah, that's good. So it's yeah, I think maybe like Sebastian finds it puzzling that people like him, so or people want to be around him, so tries to come up with like justifications and reasons all the time. So yeah. That's all of mine.
Okay. So how about we take 10, then we come and we play one or two scenes, and maybe we introduce ourselves to the Overlord or one of the generals. Who knows?
Cool. BRB. We're taking 10.
It all started as if just like a dream made true. Sikandar took over her mother's throne, and alongside with her siblings, she set out to follow the teachers of her mentors to bring the great correction of the mistakes of the Arvingers past and to completely reform their society. It all seemed just perfect. Finally, this someone raised by reason and cleverness that was willing to listen to advisors to do what needed to be done to the world. That is, to everyone except the halflings. Hamfast knows very well the story of the first clans that were pushed. So, Hamfast, which of the peoples that are not the orcs or the orphans or the arbiters, definitely not, uh, took the halflings in, no matter how many kept being pushed away from the frontiers of the Arbinger territory, which people took them in unconditionally.
I think maybe the dwarves, but not all the dwarven tribes. Maybe sort of like the hill dwarves who have some sort of historical link with the halflings. They allowed them to sort of hide in their caves and hide in their towns.
So the old dwarfs welcome the halflings, and more clans migrated to their lands as Sikandar started to turn against the neighboring kingdoms and ignoring tradition and ignoring the laces of blood between people that have kept the crowned heads conspiring with each other towards the common interest of the people. She turned on them, and there was much rejoicing as more and more people willingly accepted the freedom offered by Arbinger. And that's when things really started to bloom. Suddenly, there was no more disease, there was no famine on the territories. Everyone was housed. People have time for leisure. People could travel. People that had been forever locked in servitude, they could just wander off and explore it. And the already considerable Arbinger culture exploded as pretty much every citizen of the empire was able to completely indulge on their craft and express themselves. So, why Palace, the court wizard, and the foremost among the mentors of Sikandar-i-Megas? When was it that Palace realized that something was deeply wrong with the world?
With the world itself, or with what Sikandar's doing?
Well, both.
Okay, that's sort of great. So I guess we can sort of decide what make. Have we talked or discussed what makes Sikandar actually evil?
Well, I can tell you. So is that she's not the one doing it per se, the evilness, but her indulging in this desire to open the gates, she's being manipulated by a greater force.
Okay. and it was opening the gates that helped create the. It was the opening the gates that helped do the healing.
Indirectly,
Indirectly.
because you have been achieved levels of arcane domain that allows you to draw energy and conjure matter from another places beyond reality, and that's what allows this post-scarcity civilization within the empire. But of course, that is damaging the world, and you realize it.
What if we saw through one of these gates, one of the places that's paying the price of what we're doing here is actually doing damage and destruction to other worlds and other places, and will probably eventually come here.
So what is that you see on one of your because you were the ultimate authority in magic on the most powerful magical empire in the world, of the greatest culture in the world, what did you see as you opened wider one of the gates? What did you see on the other side that caused such a strong impression on you?
On the other side, I saw something we'd actually seen before, like a blasted terrain. Thinking that maybe some of these places we're drawing power from were dead originally. But as I looked out along this blasted plain, not only was I able to start to see what used to be cities at that moment, sort of the power of prophecy and the magic laid that image over our own world. That this blasted place was once like ours and once had a people much like ours. And if we keep going the way, if people keep doing what they're doing, this is what's going to happen.
So you deserted. Yeah, I guess you tried reason, but why did nobody believe in you?
Because the world is a better place. Sikandar has helped so many people, healed so many people. So what if other places are like, there's countless other worlds out there. What happened to them will never happen to us, for those who know about it.
So you gather the fellowship, you gather the confederation, and it came out to gather all the peoples, all the kingdoms that opposed the Harbingers at Sikandar, and who will lead them other than the most powerful warriors of this age, well, of any age. They came for the orcs. So, Aradia, how come the orcs that have sworn to secrecy and have sworn to not fight under anyone, how were they persuaded to pick up arms against Sikandar-i-Megas?
I think the Fellowship found the orcs at a moment of not crisis, but at a time when they could feel the weight of history kind of upon them. Like, for the longest time, orcs have been concentrated in emancipating themselves, in fostering their own culture, in trying to define themselves away from what they were, which were weapons of war. And as most cultures go, do some mixed successes along the way. But the one thing their history has reminded them is that being tools of another, and another one of such, specifically one person such power, such as Sikandar-i-Megas, it's not a fate that should be visited not just on the orcs but on anyone. And I think a lot of the orcs, especially those who remember back when they were enslaved years and years ago, they've learned that that is a fate that no other peoples on this world should suffer. So when the Fellowship came, they just found him at the right time, the right mode of thinking.
And so it came that she did not only lead the orcs, she led the entire fellowship. So hill dwarves, many clans of halflings, orcs, whatever the factors of the conquered nations, they met a great battle against the Harbingers. And Sebastian, why did the coalition failed?
So the Great Coalition, they went up with numbers and military might equal to the Harbingers, but their moral cause was not certain for the leaders. When and the soldiers, when the soldiers saw the bounty, the peace, the hope that's shown in the eyes of the enemy, the way that the soldiers of the enemy, when they were wounded, were quickly transported back and healed, good as new. The way they were well fed, well clothed. It broke their morale. They would no longer march against this supposed evil. They were convinced it was actually utopia.
So you lost the battle. And it cost some of you more than others. Some of you still carry the marks of the defeat. It became clear that just brute force was not enough. And as each of the forces went underground or returned to protect their communities or just bent a knee, you swore oath of fellowship. And the four of you will stop whatever plan Sikandar has and find a way to reveal her for what she really is and to reveal to the world the price of utopia. But you are on your own. It's been barely a week after the great battle. And you know that if you linger enough, you will be caught up by the armies of the Harbingers. You know about two locations nearby. You know that there are two ways to escape the army. You can go to the orphan settlement of Sanctuary, an amazing port city that has grown around an initial cloister from the order, and where everyone is welcomed. And you know that there you might seek passage to a place safer from the blunt of the army. That is, until she managed to find her own crossing. Or you can venture into the mountains and the steppes of the west, where the wilder elements of the dwarves and the orcs live.
Hamfast, what should we do?
Oh, I've never liked boats myself, so I would rather go to the mountains, to be honest.
We go to the place where everyone's welcome. There's a much better chance that we'll be found by those who might be seeking us. Mountains seem like they're safer.
Mountains it is. All that time, Aradia is not really looking at anyone. And I think this is the battle where they got that scar, right? That wound.
Yeah.
And it's just a crack on their face.
So, Aradia, what can you tell us about the orc clans that live on these mountains?
They're a kind of orcs that are relatively, well, in orc history, they're relatively new because most orcs are made of what they were, they were made to fight. So most of them were made of iron or steel, or some of the snootier overlords made orcs of marble and porcelain. But these ones in the woods, these were the ones created by the orcs, so they resemble more of their surroundings. So these are orcs of rock and wood. And I've heard rumors that there may be orcs of leaves even, which is like, wait, how does that? It's a bit weird.
So, how about you could say, that being made for war instills a sense of purpose. How being a generation of orcs that never knew war and having these instincts for chaos and progress and indulgency, how does that influence these tribes?
Of not having those instincts, you mean? Sorry.
Well, they have bigger chaotic instincts, but they also don't have the
War.
traditions of war. So
Yeah.
you will think, how does that shape that? Do they have deviant instincts? Do they double down on what they have?
Well, certainly that leads them. That's why they're in the mountains. It's a hard place to get to and a hard place to kind of leave. I think they definitely err more on the enjoy life side of the orc spectrum. Obviously, there is some like cultural memory, and obviously these orcs were created by folks who were created for war. But there's a bit of debate of like, are we losing anything if we lose why we were made, or is it not our entire history to run away from that, to escape that history? And these orcs are very much kind of like the first product of a generation where maybe we don't have to fight, maybe we can just be. And some of the orcs, I think specifically orcs of Aradia's generation, are like, I don't know how to feel about that.
Okay, so you take course to the mountains range of what legends the halflings tell about these mountains? How fast?
I think since he was a child, he's kind of been told all sorts of told stories about giant dwarves in the mountains with sort of huge tusks and long teeth and horns that eat halfling babies and the like. He probably doesn't believe most of it because most of these stories he knows are made up. But I think even so, he'll be kind of looking about himself rather worriedly as anytime they sort of go past a big rock or enter a wood or any other place where some horrible monster might jump out at him.
So what do your people call these mountains?
Uh, I don't know. The Blue Mountains. Sorry, not very interesting.
Yeah. So you make your way towards the Blue Mountains, and Palace, you start feeling something familiar. You feel observed, and you feel observed by someone very close to you. You could recognize their signature everywhere because you've worked with it for 15 years. He was your brightest pupil, and he grew alongside the Overlord. And now that you defected, he has taken over your place. Your student, Vivi. You can feel eyes on the skies, and as you look to a murder of crows, you know that whatever they are seeing, Vivi knows, and you know that they are following you. Where's the Blue Mountains? You know that Vivi knows, and Vivi is going to try to stop you, even if it will tear his heart apart.
Do I have an idea how far behind they are?
Well, you know that that's not a factor because of magic. You know that the magic that you taught them, uh, anywhere where the light touch, they can appear. So if you keep to the darkness, you will be safe. They have to travel as normal. But while you are exposed to the light, you are vulnerable. They can appear at any moment. All they need is time to prepare.
Okay. So I'll tell everybody. An old student of mine has had eyes on us. The murder of ravens you saw pass earlier were what they were looking through. Wherever we are, he can be almost immediately. The quicker we can get underground or in the cover of darkness, the better off we'll be.
Can you take care of them?
Depends what they bring with. I can try.
Yeah. Arati nods and is. I think they probably know the terrain-ish. They know the best way to get underground, maybe. Been a while since they've been here. Talk to these wood orcs.
Will any of you have a map of the Blue Mountains?
I don't have a map, but one of the things I can do is send a message through mysterious means. I might be able to send something to local orcs or whatever.
Yeah, so you can try to, before entering the mountains proper, you can go into the woodlands, creeping over the range, and try to meet the orcs there.
So, I think Hamfast probably has a cousin who lives in these mountains. So he could ask him about any sort of local places we could hide out.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see if there is. I move the covers the otherwise. Okay, so I added to the world the threat that the mountain rage covers, and that you have to either deal with the stat of finding a mountain pass or find the hidden tunnels. So you try to navigate your way towards the works. So why one of you does not give me where it is? It's the look closely. Why don't one of you look closely at the hoods?
I would be a good person for that if you're someone like scouting ahead or knows the place.
Yeah.
Us is riding his rather old boar, so he's probably near the back to us. Smoking.
Okay. So whoever is looking ahead, roll 2d6 and sense.
Has a high sense. If you want to be scouting.
Sorry, what?
I'm saying Sebasta has a high sense if you want to scout.
Sure. Can someone send me the link to the dice roller? Oh, there. Sorry. Thanks. So 7 plus, well, yeah, 9.
Okay, so you can ask 3 questions from the list of look closely.
Is something hidden or out of place? If so, what looks suspicious?
You notice that there is way more leaves on the trees than it should be on this season. And you can see that some of them are moving on the direction opposite to the wind. You get the feeling that there's something that is camouflaged on the trees and it's keeping its distance but following you. You have to see where you are going.
So what will happen if I confront it?
You suspect that these are the orcs, but you know that they are hiding from someone or something that might not be you. If you do that, you might alert whatever is pursuing them to their presence.
All right. So I sensing that, I just sort of pretend I don't notice, and I go back to the rest of the party.
You still have a question.
Oh, sure. So, tell me about the orcs. What are they doing, and what will they do next?
Okay, so I think this is a case for command lore. So why don't you command lore, Radia, and tell me what the orcs are probably trying to do? What are they probably trying to accomplish here? Knowing what you know about the ways that the orcs protect their homelands.
So is this Sebastian asking this directly, or just the
Well,
player?
So Sebastian is asking directly the Overlord, but because it's something pertaining to the orcs, I'm saying that this is a command lore for you.
Okay. Okay. So it used to be that orcs would just, fight's a fight, and there's strangers, unruly strangers. Orcs were usually quite defensive of where they or of their hard-won lands and peace and whatnot. But as time went on, it became clear that it's a bit reactive to just like fight anyone who's comes in who's a stranger. So, and especially with this newer generation, if they're keeping a pace, it's very much a case of one, it's a show of intimidation. Like, that's why you could sense it, because they're not really trying to keep themselves hidden. They're more like trying to tell strangers that they're being watched. And two, the orcs themselves are assessing whether these strangers are a threat or not, and then they might attack. But that depends on the generation and the place. These are, again, orcs more concerned with living rather than fighting, so they might just keep up the surveillance until someone finally is like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" And then, negotiations might happen.
Yeah, and that's what you realize, that they are trying to herd you out of their forest. And they seem to be considering you. But they seem to notice someone among you, and that's when they ready themselves to attack. Something that they saw among your numbers. You can see the flustering of activity, and you can see obsidian mauls and arrowheads as they prepare to attack you.
I think I'm the most likely cause of that.
Yeah, I think when I kind of whirl around to confront the orcs, in the whirling, I kind of not give Pellis a side eye, because they can't help it. Yeah, I'll just kind of step forward and raise my hands as if just to say like, "Yo, one of you," and just say like, "Brethren of wood and rock, we seek sanctuary here."
Will you say that you are keeping them busy or speak softly?
Speak softly, I think.
Okay, so go ahead with wisdom.
Yeah, my wisdom is weirdly good. wow, that's a 12.
Okay, so you can ask 3 questions from the list, and they must answer each question honestly.
All right. What are they doing, and what are they going to do next? I mean, what are they doing is probably obvious. So what are they going to do next?
You see one vine stretch from a nearby tree, and it blooms into a flower that starts speaking with you. Stone, cousin, we do not welcome anyone bringing war into these lands. It brings us much pain, but if you insist in traveling our territory, we'll remove you by force if needed. We don't want to know about your war.
Then we shall not tell you so. We seek only to go through your lands. Nothing more. Let's see. Next question. They kind of answered what would they have us do next, I guess, which is fuck off. What should we be wary of when dealing with them?
We did this mistake, and the vine kind of leans towards Hamfast. We allowed people escaping war into our lands. We're just crossing, but they have brought great suffering to our lands, and they refuse to leave. We will not tolerate his kind anymore, not even a single one more. We want them gone.
All right, I turn to look at Handfast.
Sorry, when you say our kind, what were you referring to?
Halflings.
Oh
People-
no, you're quite mistaken. I'm not a halfling at all, you see. I was shrunk by this horrible magician. I am actually a human. A
I
common
wouldn't-
mistake.
Are you not of the people of Wagon and Pig? Are you not one of the wonders of the plains?
Oh no. Just an old man cursed by a horrible magician. I have a move called Talk Nonsense, which may be applicable.
What does that do exactly?
So it's basically talk sense, but I use courage. And on a 10 plus, I can use sting like a bee.
Okay, go ahead. Radha, do you want to make a third question now, or you want to wait for this?
Yeah, I'll wait to see how this goes. Like,
10. So I can sting like a bee as well. Let's check that. Tell us what you want from them and they can help you. I think I would ask if would you let us travel through your land? Fine, orcish people.
I guess because you are wise enough to seek one of our cousins of stone and iron, I think we will let you pass. However, we do demand that you do not interfere with the halflings, since you're not one of them.
Kind of bow elaborately and say yes. And I also I get Sting Like a Bee, so I can have a question from Speak Softly, and I have Mischievous Tricksters, so I get 2 options, so I can have like a second question, but I'll do my questions afterwards, so it doesn't get confusing.
Yeah. Okay, we have 3 questions to ask from them. Let's go.
So, do you want to finish off first, Radio?
No, I think I'm fine for now. It's you've moved us out of the danger zone, so to speak. So yeah, nonsense talker, you.
In that case, I would like to ask them also, what can they tell us about any underground passages or anything like that?
There are people of the stone, not like our cousins, born, not made. They used it to trade with our forefathers, the people of the wood. If you can meet the wood clans, they can take you to where the people that you call dwarves live.
I'm good with those. I don't have any other questions I need from Look Closely. I don't particularly want to steal anything from them, so I will leave my other Sting Like a Bee thing.
Okay, so keep those questions in case what happens. So you are given leave to proceed. And they mention both the halflings that live in the forest and the wood or clans that can give you more information about the dwarfs that live in the Blue Mountains. So what do you follow up on?
Don't mind. I have got an address book filled with family friends, which would allow me to find some sort of family member if we find a settlement. So if we do go to a halfling settlement, I could do that.
You already established that you have a cousin here, so I'll say that if you go to meet the whatever clans are camped here in the forest, you're gonna find them there. If you want to follow up on that.
It's risky though because it will sort of make it obvious that we are friendly with the halflings, which seems risky. So I will leave it up to the rest of the group as well.
Why don't we go see your cousin Hamfast? Oh, I've always wanted to see more of your kind and your family, since since you're such a stellar person.
Well, we're not all like me, I'm afraid. My cousin Gregor is a horrible drunk, always telling lies as well. You wouldn't like him. But he might be useful if we can find him. He knows the land well. I'm sure he could take us to somewhere we could hide.
I'm sure. You mustn't judge people before you have met them properly. So I'll keep my hopes up.
So, Hamfast, why don't you tell me what does a halfling clan does once they get to a place where they're gonna settle for a while?
So they'll usually have a bunch of carts pulled by dogs or ponies or boars, depending on the clan, and they'll just sort of stop those in a circle as protection, and they'll put up some tents and the like, and fires, and there'll probably be some watches a little bit further out from the circle. So you get sort of a circle of watch trees. So you have people up in the tree, and then you have a circle of carts, and then in the middle you'll have sort of the children and the women, people doing cooking, people sleeping, everything like that.
So that's what you see. You can see the smoke among the trees, and you see the wagons encircled on a clearing that was clearly made by fire. And you see what has to be around 50 halflings or so that they seem to be extremely sick. There seems to be something wrong going on, and you can hear the buzzing of flies and the enormous insects around. And you can hear the reading of crossbow bolts. And among the folks on the wagons, you can see your cousin. So why don't you tell us about your cousin?
So he's quite tall for a halfling. So he's very short still, but taller than me. He will be red-faced. He has like a slight beard, which he's very proud of. It's very hard for halflings to grow. Yeah, he probably just kind of standing there, bottle in one hand. I imagine if he does see me, he'd kind of shout out a greeting.
Oi, I cannot believe it. Hey, it's cousin Prodnek. And there you can see he's exhausted, sick eyes working towards you, and they seem to gain some comfort on that. I cannot believe it. Oh, it must be a trick. It must be a trick of those damn orcs.
Hamfast will ride up confidently, ignoring the crossbows, and sort of wave his spear. Oh, hello, Gregor. How long has it been? And hope that nobody attacks him or anything.
Okay, why don't you give me a keep them busy? Because you're trying to get the attention of the sentinels.
Courage. Seven.
So you can take you can pay a price, or you get a temporary solution. Which on this case probably means that something is going to happen that they're going to keep this thirsting.
Okay. So I guess it might be that I guess they would attack the rest of the party, sort of after this temporary period, since I might be a halfling, but the others obviously look a bit threatening.
So you
kind
take
of
that
price.
Yeah, pay the price is basically you have to damage something. So you can take damage, you can lose or use equipment, suffer a setback, or lose advantage.
Okay. I'm not sure. Does anybody else have any ideas what I'm thinking?
You said we're looking at them. They're going to be attacking soon.
So I kept them busy temporarily, but they will retaliate when the time is up. So I'm imagining that they might sort of be looking at me now, but they might see the rest of the party and sort of attack them potentially.
Oh, give me just a moment. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick.
It should be finishing anyway. We just need to end up this.
Yeah. Can you just take some? When you say take damage, is that to like stats and?
Yeah, basically you damage a stat, or use an equipment. You damage the equipment.
Okay. I mean, would using could I kind of like bribe? So I kind of get up there and see the guards and maybe sort of pass out my halfling pipe leaf to sort of all the guards, so they're kind of then get into that instead of actually paying attention.
Yeah. Okay. So damage the pipe leaf with one use. Yeah. So you start spreading your pipe leaf, and they seem to be reinvigorated by it. Yes. We have not have pipe leaf as good in months. Yes. This is something that definitely only a proud neck would have. And they welcome all of you, and you can see that they are in a very poor state. They barely have any food, and there's something foul about all the water that they have there. It seems like almost poison or disease somehow. And there's barely any game, and whatever it is, you see a lot of meat that has been hunted recently, but somehow is rotting and touched. There seems to be this very lingering feeling of doom among them. So you still have your two questions, so you can ask the halflings.
I can use a one look closely for my sting like a bee. So yes, what is going on here? What do my senses tell me?
You know that they are being pushed out by the leaf orcs. That the leaf orcs, they are poisoning the whatever food they manage to forage. They have been poisoning the water, all to causing no deaths, but to leave them too sick to linger here. It's causing constant pain, constant indigestion, and they are starving if they linger here. How to push them away of the forest as passively as possible. But you know that even that is going to become too much, and if this continue, the most fragile members of the community are going to suffer grievous injury or even death.
I have a question about that. So with my Do Not Trifle with Wizards, it says, when I conjure a powerful spell to destroy something in your way, I take damage, then can inflict that much. Would I be able to use that magic to take damage to actually purify their water in the game and such? At the personal cost of like taking 3 points of damage?
Yes. The thing is, that's a lot of damage for this. You can do it easily, but it's going to hamper you very early on the journey.
Yeah, and in this one, like, how long does it take to sort of heal from something?
You heal by eating, basically.
I also do have a powerful elixir of healing, which I could use if necessary.
Yeah,
so
but sorry, I don't want to overrule you. I just, because maybe it's clear, I want to point out that clearly this is something that the leaf orcs are doing. So if you can convince the leaf orcs to stop doing this, just stops happening.
Okay.
It may not be clear from what I described.
I also want to check how much longer are we going today, because it said 3 hours on the thing.
Yeah, we are finishing as long as we end up with this scene.
Okay.
So just if someone has something still to ask here, otherwise we finish here.
Know what's sort of further west of here? Like if you keep going west, what do you hit?
Well, you're gonna get into the mountains proper, deep into the blue range.
After sort of behind the mountains, like if you manage to get past the mountains, is there something over there?
Well, there are the steps, and there lives the oldest of the orcs, and the other people that still have not been conquered.
Nice, safe place for the halflings to go over there. I think.
So your cousin points to you. Well, we have heard about the approaching army, and we got a map of the mountain pass, and we are trying to make the journey. But we ran into problems with the leaf orcs, and they don't want to let us pass.
What sort of problems did you run into?
They believe that the armies of the Overlord are going to follow us, and if even if they let us pass, it will just be an invitation for the armies to step in, and they fear that just contact with the armies will leave them forever changed.
Aradia mutters to themselves, isn't that the point of living, though?
See this map, Gregor? Might there be another way past the mountain? A hidden way?
Well, you know from the leaf orcs that there is a dwarf passage that you can look for the wood orcs and find.
So the main thing keeping the halflings here is that they are sick and okay.
We personally would be better off underground. It'll be harder for them to see us.
Especially for your student.
Yeah, I think, well, maybe they couldn't go over the mountain pass, but if we could find a way under the mountain, maybe we could take the halflings with us. They could sort of rest with the dwarves and potentially get away that way. And everybody wins.
I guess that is something that we're going to see next time. But it seems clear that there is conflict between the leaf orcs and the halflings, and there are two ways to approach to the mountain range. Okay, now end of session move. So let's see. Did we save or protect the community in need? Not yet. Maybe next session. Did we strike a blow against the Overlord and their minions? No. Did we learn more about the world and its peoples? I think we learned a lot by definition of this session. So you can choose one of the options. So each fellowship player refreshes one piece of their gear to its full value. Each fellowship player chooses one stat to heal. It does not have to be theirs. The fellowship and the overlord each choose one player to level up. You cannot choose to level up if you are the highest player or you have already been chosen to level up this session.
So 2 players will level up if we go for that.
One.
Oh, one.
The thing is, each of us has a vote, so including the overlord.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking we go for the third one because we don't have any stats to heal and we only use up one bit of pipe leaf.
Yeah.
Valuable, so we could go for that.
Okay, just type on the chat who you vote on.
That's terribly unanimous.
Yes, apparently so. Okay, so so Hamfast leveled up. So next session, Hamfast is going to be on level 2. And that's it. So sorry for how it was a bit hard to get the roll rolling at the end. But I want to hear your stars and wishes, especially wishes.
Yeah, I have a bit of a hard out. You mind if I just toss my stars and wishes right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have to go and prep for another game in 40 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So stars are basically the kind of the typical thing for first session here is that I can't wait to get into one of these characters. I'm very intrigued with all these. The orphans are their own people. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm intrigued to get into that. I want to know what happened to the Halflings Nation and whether how Hamfast will react to that. Okay, that's more of a wish, but like basically, yeah, I really like that we got into a conversation with that Leaf Orcs and Hamfast basically talk nonsense to get us out of there. Kind of. We're still right in the middle of it. And I just love everyone's decisions. I love the idea of the Harbingers people being good at art. Like, fuck off. You're terrible people, but you're good at no. We can't be having that. This is why people fetishize fascists, because they look cool. No, we can't have that. No. So yeah, I love the choices in the world there. The wishes, I just can't wait to get stuck into all these bonds and whatnot. I want to get to a fight with Pella soon. Like I've already had an idea for like, okay, you're gonna have to deal with your student. They're probably a shit heel. I don't care. You're gonna have to take care of them. Yeah, that's basically my main wish, to get stuck in with this fellowship, because we just, according to the story, we just lost a big battle, so everyone's probably kind of tense and weird, and now they have to deal with my kind of shitty cousins. So, well, not shitty, but they're just different. Okay, yeah, sorry, it's a bit scrambled, but I really do have to go. If that's okay with y'all. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Leandro. So, any wishes from the rest of you that you want to see on the game before all of us go?
For me at this point, it's just getting into it and kind of, because we mostly did creation, so now it's just kind of seeing how we all work together and do stuff.
Yeah, immediate things that you want to see while we cross the mountains or something. Anything in particular that you want to explore with the Harbinger?
I'll say for me, nothing really comes to mind. I've got to be someplace at 11, so I also need to change. And
Okay, let's do this fast. So, Max, any wish in particular that you want to see?
I'd have to sort of meet like a minion of the Overlord, sort of actually, yeah, sort of see what they're like face to face.
Yeah, and Einar, any particular wishes?
I just look forward to seeing the rest of the system roll, and also I hope to have some sort of I don't know, downtime scenes with interactions between the characters. Also,
Okay.
such fun
Okay,
characters.
so I don't hold you anymore. Sorry for this extra bit. See you
This week.